If you're like me and you take these Bitcoin markets seriously, then you're going to appreciate this update because Bitcoin has actually fallen below a pretty useful area of support here. And it certainly looks like things could be changing. The tides could be shifting towards the downside. Now, I'm not too worried about this, and I want to break down for you why that is the case. There is a lot to take into account here, and one of the primary things that we always do on this YouTube channel is, regardless of where the market is taking us, we're always putting things into perspective, making sure that we're maintaining a very realistic approach to the market. So one of the first things that we have to cover is just actually what happened here. And, one of the main things that's clearly taken place on this market with this price action right here now is that we have lost one of our important areas of support, sitting at about 27.2. This was our local support that we've held basically since the beginning of this month. So we're now nearly halfway into October, and we were holding this level pretty well. It's clear that we were testing it too much, and that's a warning that I gave you guys. The more we test these areas, the more likely they are to break. So we did end up slipping below it. And if we do take a look at this from the perspective of a diagonal trending support line, we've also lost that. Now, another thing that we've done here to kind of add even more insult to injury is that Bitcoin has also lost its 4-hour Ichimoku cloud. And this was a phenomenal opportunity for Bitcoin to actually start trending higher, in my opinion, but we fumbled the bag. And it gets even worse. We've actually now seen a very clear confirmed rejection of the daily Ichimoku cloud. And this is something that we've been talking about on the YouTube channel going back like 1 month now, where I was saying, look, if Bitcoin can break the Ichimoku cloud around over here before basically today, then we're going to have, that would be Bitcoin's window of opportunity. However, if we can't do that, and if something goes wrong for Bitcoin, well, then the resistance is probably going to get very big. And that is exactly what we're facing right now. It's actually poetic how we've just started to drop more and more as the Ichimoku cloud was dropping lower and lower. These things are not coincidences, ladies and gents. This is why we pay attention to such critical indicators in the market. It gives us an edge. So this has been very, very useful to take into account. And while all of this has been happening, we have now fallen down to this area of resistance that we were facing, which now potentially could end up acting as support. If we take off all of these indicators and just look at this raw diagonal line, which by no means is perfect, however, certainly does look like it's relevant in at least some ways, we can see that we are now potentially starting to find some support off this diagonal trending support line, which again previously was resistance. And at the very same time, one of the key things that I was talking to you guys about is that we've got this pattern now of setting higher highs and higher lows, and by losing this low right here, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're in a catastrophe. What we still have is a pattern of higher lows. We've clearly got a low over here followed by a higher low. And if we bottom out anywhere over here, or really anywhere above $26,000, we've still maintained this pattern of higher lows and higher highs. And I want to point out to you a recent, it's not really that recent anymore, but an example of where this happened earlier this year, where, we might be in a slightly similar situation. I'm not saying that this is where we're at, but one of the things that I want to discuss with you is the possibility of Bitcoin forming a deviation. As you guys know from watching this YouTube channel, shout out to those of you that are engaging with these videos, smashing up those like buttons, making sure you're subscribed, ticking the bell and all that beautiful stuff. You're going to know that that deviations are Bitcoin's love language, okay? And if we take a look at what that's been looking like throughout the course of basically this year, the end of last year, we had a really nice kind of series of higher lows in the market, of course, paired with higher highs as well, very, very nicely indeed. And then what we did with this low right here was we kind of swung below, we formed this deviation, and that was it. Then we were able to continue to rise higher. So we didn't quite maintain that higher low formation because we swept below this one, but we did still set a higher low from the previous lows that we set. And really all that happened here was anybody that said, okay, look, if Bitcoin loses this line, it's over. Anybody that was speaking like that probably entered a short position at the very bottom. And then people like myself, the sharks that actually love to make money out of this market, because ultimately the market will give you what you want. If you want emotional thrills, you will get that and you will lose your money. But if you want money, then you will get that too, because you will be patient. And so that's where the people like me were able to step in and bam, pull these absolutely beautiful profits up that are not loading. I thought that was going to look really cool. Here, take a look at this. Obviously, I've been parading this screenshot for a long time. That's where we get these kind of opportunities. So are we looking at something that could be similar right now? I mean, don't rule it out, ladies and gents. Let's not pretend like that's not possible. This is very, very typical behavior for Bitcoin, even in bullish environments. So please do keep that in mind as we continue to, drop a little bit lower. The fact of this market, and this is something that we've spoken about extensively, when Bitcoin had this little drop, I said the same damn thing. The fact of this market right now is that we have a lot of support around us at the moment. If I go ahead and extend this green box out and perhaps even stretch it a little bit higher, it is totally fair, in my opinion, to say that this entire range could and even should act as support for Bitcoin if we end up going down that low. It's not ideal. We don't want to see this. We want to see Bitcoin staying higher. But if it goes there, I'm not going to be worried. I just can't be. I don't think it's that bad. Let's go ahead and take a look at this on the weekly time frame as well, see what we're seeing from the EMA ribbon. So we don't really have any clear momentum direction here, which actually kind of feeds into one of my very kind of long-term ideas on this chart, which is this one right here. We're going to come back to it in just a second here. But, one of the things that I was telling you on this YouTube channel is that, look, when you hear analysis that's kind of boring, you're like kind of rolling your eyes at it and you're like, fuck this, I don't want to, this is boring, this is annoying, I can't believe the market's being so shit like this. A lot of the time, especially in circumstances like now, when you start feeling those things, when you hear what I'm about to tell you, that's kind of how you know that it may be true. That's kind of how you know that, this sounds pretty realistic. And it's this whole idea of Bitcoin just kind of trading sideways where, we can drop out of these kind of patterns and find support down at 24K even, and then continue to come back up. And absolutely nothing will have changed. But here's something that's really interesting. We're going to take a look at the S&P 500 and the dollar in just a second, but I'm going to skip ahead with my notes here. And I want to cover something else with you guys that I've got in store for you guys with this video, and it is this chart right here. Now, what's interesting about this chart is we're just looking at kind of pure characteristics of Bitcoin, okay? Just the kind of things that Bitcoin likes to do before it continues its uptrends, if at all it will continue them. And one of the things that we see a lot of the time is that at the top of these markets, you get these sharp pullbacks, okay? We're on the monthly time frame, so these are fucking huge candles, right? Each candle's 30 days, 31 days, whatever. And when we top out, we see these clear drops in the market where, one candle we're up, the next one we're down. Look, one candle we're up, the next one we're down. One candle we're up, the next couple we're down, and so on and so forth. Extremely clear. There's no room for interpretation on this. There's no room for debate on this. When the market has punched in real highs, where the market dropped massively, where we saw big price drops following afterwards, it always came after these quick drops were initiated at the top. Here's how it looked when we were bullish. When we were bullish, historically for Bitcoin, we're going back to 2016, 2015 now, ladies and gents. When we were bullish, we would tend to see consolidation. Okay, take a look at this right here, take a look at this right here, and take a look at this right here. Now look, I do not swear by fractals. I do not think that they're the be-all, end-all of analysis, but I think that they're good, and I think that they're useful, and I think that there is something here that is worth paying attention to, whether or not you are bullish or bearish. It is hard to deny that this is a compelling chart. We did basically the same thing with that 2014, 2015 bear market that we ended, which, by the way, if we kind of, really zoom in and take a look at what that actually looked like, I mean, I'm skipping so far ahead with the notes that I had for you guys today, but fuck it, here we are. If we take a look at what this actually looked like before, we had a very similar, I could call this level $30,000. And if you don't remember the chart particularly well, you would believe me. We had a very similar $30,000 area of support right here. We found resistance here for a very long time. And then when we were able to get above it, we came back down for that kiss of life and just went basically parabolic afterwards. It was absolutely beautiful, and it took about 600 days for the market to actually go from below to above this area of resistance. So absolutely beautiful stuff there. I mean, there are some real parallels that we can kind of start to draw with what's going on in the market at present. I mean, if we take a look at this chart right here, to help us kind of illustrate that a little bit, it's been, 1,000 days in one of our previous markets right here. If we take a look at where we are right now, and by the way, it was the same thing. We had this, the 12K level was the key area for Bitcoin back in the previous bull market, bear market cycle. We faced it as resistance. We found a little bit of support, continued to be resistance over the years, and then bam, when we got above it, that was it. History was made. Let's take a look at what's going on right now. I mean, very, very similar circumstances. In this case, we're looking at 500 days, so much less time than the previous one. Perhaps if we're looking at this happening soon, it's going to be a little bit more on par with 2014, 2015. There is some discussion to be had about the time-based analysis there, but we'll skip that for now. We're looking at potentially a very similar situation here to the chart that I showed you. Where is it? This chart right here. Potentially a very similar. I mean, it basically looks like the same damn chart. It's kind of weird, right? So, you pause the video and take a look at this, at your own discretion here. But I think it's pretty clear that Bitcoin is really shaping itself up to be in a similar position at the moment. Just consolidating at these highs. And this is one of the things that I think is important, right? I mean, we're getting this like little drop down here now, really nothing particularly huge, where, we've got a potential target of 7% to the downside. So whatever, that's 25.5. We would sweep the low if we went down there, but we would only be placing ourselves in a good area of support, and this is something that, again, I think people are really starting to miss here. If we throw this back onto the 4-hour time frame and just look at the sheer volume that was traded around this price area, I don't think it's going to be particularly easy to push Bitcoin below this green box. It's probably going to get easier and easier because, the posture just isn't amazing for Bitcoin at the moment. I don't think it's going to get harder. I think that these support levels are going to be getting softer here. So, we have to take that into account, but there is a lot of interesting, important stuff going on around these price areas that basically stretch between 25.5 up to about 26.2, 26.3. And I don't know if this is going to be particularly easy. And even if it is, our support really does stretch down quite a bit lower than that. I think a lot of people are going to get frustrated by this kind of thing and, just think like, well, like Bitcoin's not really doing enough and, whatever, it's boring. But again, this is where I have to draw you back to, like when you see analysis that looks particularly shit and particularly boring and unsatisfying, that is a good indicator of it actually being realistic. So, that's one of the things that I really like to personally hone in on and focus on with these kind of ebbs and flows of the market. And I want to also, on that note, take a look at the S&P 500 as well, show you what I've been seeing right there. The S&P 500, one of the things that we said could end up happening here has ended up breaking this area of resistance. Now, I was probably expecting a bit of a pullback and then up, but it didn't seem to matter for the S&P 500. And this is where things get really funny because, this is exactly the kind of situation that should be bolstering Bitcoin. The S&P 500 is up. We're going to go to the dollar a second. The dollar is down. Why is Bitcoin so weak? It makes no fucking sense. I'm not even going to try and speculate. The only thing I can think of is that this is a market with low liquidity, which means that it is both dangerous and very profitable to trade as well at the same time. So, and of course, especially if you know what you're doing. So this area of resistance penetrated by the S&P 500. We're back in the game. It almost looks like a little bit of a deviation. Now, one thing we do have to keep in mind is that if we do kind of, zoom out, this could definitely be, some sort of a kind of falling, channel, some sort of descending channel that looks a little bit like this. If this were to be the case, if the S&P 500 were to print something like this, the breakout, if we get one, would be fucking enormous. I think that it's fair to say, that you could probably extend a flagpole from this low up to the high, and then of course, if we're going to get that breakout, let's say, anytime soon, it's easily new all-time high territory. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. And that's with the aggressive target. I mean, if we take a look at this with a much more conservative outlook, just kind of coming off this low right here, we're still looking at all-time high territory for the S&P 500 if it manages to get a breakout from this falling channel right here. It is a very good pullback so far. From its high down to its low, it's about 8.5%, which puts it in line with some of the bigger pullbacks that the S&P 500 has seen for quite some time. And from its high down to the current price, it's now also been 2.5 months. So when we talk about have we corrected for enough time, I think so, yes. When we talk about have we corrected for enough of a price-based correction, has the price actually dropped down enough, I would say yes to that as well. So I certainly believe that the S&P 500 is not in a horrible position right now, may actually be ready to rally very, very nicely from here. But, a lot of this is going to depend on the dollar. See, the dollar just hasn't been particularly strong. But one of the things that we've mentioned here, and we call this beautifully, if you were here on the YouTube channel, just smash those likes up right now, because you're going to remember that this was a very obvious call for us to make. I didn't really feel particularly worried about telling you guys that the dollar has been moving up pretty much non-stop for 11 weeks now, without any real break. And that was to me, strong indication that, some sort of pullback for the dollar may be warranted relatively soon. So we have seen that strength manifest itself, in the S&P 500. And this is especially interesting because I've already got a trade planned out on the S&P 500. That is a trade which I'm going to be making on bingx, which is linked in the description down below, because it is going to give you access to indices like the S&P 500 just with a Bitcoin deposit, which is super, super cool. You're also getting access to a bunch of other markets like individual stocks like Tesla and Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook, whatever that you want to buy and trade even on leverage. You can do all of that on bingx, which is super, super cool. While I'm here, guys, I also want to bring CoinW up to your attention here, because this is an exchange that I've just recently started to work with who is offering you $50 in free trading bonuses. And that literally means that you don't have to deposit anything. You just have to sign up to CoinW using my link in the description down below. You're going to get up to 30,000, if not more, dollars in bonuses for doing so. And they will give you $50 for free to trade with. All you have to do is, once you've made your account, make it a futures trading account. So basically go to the futures trading, press I agree, and you get $50 credited into your account after that. You're going to get an email when it's there, and you can trade with that. That is free money. I know it's not, the biggest amount in the world, but it is a free bit of cash. You can do whatever the fuck you like with it, and any profits that you generate are yours to keep. These offers that Bybit are making, even the other offer that CoinW and the other offers that bingx are making, are very similar, but the catch is that you actually need to start trading before you get those bonuses. With CoinW, that is not the case. They are giving you this money free of charge. So definitely do check that out if you're interested, with the link right here in the description down below. They are also based here in Dubai. I've been to their office, and I might see some of you at some of the next Bitcoin blockchain events that are happening over the next kind of week as well. So if you do see me, feel free to come up and say hi. But with the S&P 500 here and this falling wedge pattern, this kind of falling channel pattern, this very much screams to me the potential for a bullish continuation. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but the more that people think it won't happen, the more steadfast I grow in my belief that it will actually take place, that we will actually get that bullish breakout. And for Bitcoin, it's just one of those things where the things that should be working in Bitcoin's favor aren't. The things that shouldn't be working in Bitcoin's favor are working in Bitcoin's favor. It's weird. I don't even want to bother trying to speculate on this kind of thing. You don't need to. We don't need answers to 100% of every question. We just want to make money, right? And when we're taking that approach, we can even, kind of not be fully informed. We can even still have questions that need to be asked. But as long as we're positioning ourselves correctly, and as long as we're fucking moving our stop loss and actually taking profits in our profitable positions, none of that stuff matters. And that is honestly something quite relieving to know. You can be on the wrong side of a trade, but as long as you've moved your stop loss and so on and so forth, you're not actually doing that badly. So that's definitely interesting. Now, if we bring it back to the dollar and what might end up happening here, look, it's now retraced back into its crucial area of old resistance, now potentially serving as support. The last time that we did this back here, or I should say actually back here, we saw a nice big move for the dollar to the upside by about 1.5%. On this occasion here, we're looking at similar numbers. And on this occasion here, we're looking at something significantly larger. So what's safe to say is that this level does tend to be a crucial bounce zone for the dollar. And it also has proven to be a crucial resistance zone for the dollar as well. So losing this would be very bad for the dollar, but bouncing off here would be very good for the dollar. So it really depends on where this is going to go next. But I think that whatever does happen with the dollar next, whether it plummets below this area or rises up, that to me is going to set the tone for the next weeks and months of this market. If the dollar continues to drop from here, I do feel like the markets are going to have a very good position and a very good opportunity to continue to rally up. If the dollar does continue to perform this strongly, then I think that we are going to find ourselves in a position where, markets like indices like the S&P 500 are going to suffer, potentially drop even lower. And it's hard to say what effect that will have on Bitcoin because it should be negative, but it seems to not be the case right now. So that's just one of those things where I want to kind of step back I don't need all of the answers. I don't want all of the answers. I just want to make money. I can't stress this point enough. So I don't need to worry about these kind of things as a trader. Thank fuck. And I'm actually just going to see where this price action takes us to ensure that I am deploying my capital efficiently and safely in these markets. Where do I think Bitcoin is going to go from here? Like I said, I'm looking for support. If we're able to capture support anywhere around here, fucking brilliant. That's going to make me super happy. That's going to make me feel super safe in the market, and then I will be looking to expect some more continued upside over here. If we do end up continuing to slide down, we have support all the way down to $25,000. I cannot stress that enough. We even have it lower, down to $24,000 or even lower than that. So there's really no big lose-lose situation for Bitcoin right here. We can drop lower and we're going to continue to find support, or we can rise higher and we're going to continue to fulfill this uptrend. I don't have an issue with either of those outcomes right now. Of course, I would prefer that Bitcoin can move up from here. I think that would make us all a little bit more comfortable. But if people are starting to get a little bit too bullish, then you know what? I don't know if I really want that. We're going to have to watch things like the Four Flies dashboard here printing us the fear and greed index, and also the long and short ratio. While these things are perhaps a little bit too bullish on the retail side for Binance traders, there might actually be some further downside to go until these kind of bullish indicators here, these bullish little flashes that we're seeing here, can get flushed out. Once they can get flushed out, a lot of the time, that's where the money can start coming back into the market. So this is something I'm going to continue to watch. I'm going to be keeping you very closely updated on it all as well. If you have enjoyed this one, do me a favor and smash that like button. Double check that you're subscribed and you got the bell icon checked as well so that you don't miss out on any of this time-sensitive content. And while you're down there, check out the offers available to you with the links in the description. You're getting about $200,000 in bonuses when you check out the links down below, which is fucking insane. With Bybit, when you start trading, you're going to get up to $30,000 in free trading capital that you can deploy in the market in any way you like. And any profits you generate are yours to keep. Obviously, if you're in any of the restricted countries that don't allow these exchanges, don't use them. But if you can use them, then this is all fair game. CoinW is giving you up to $50 in free trading money. You don't even need to make a deposit, you don't even need to start trading, which is really cool. You just need to press I agree on the futures account setup, and that is it. And for BingX, you are getting over $100,000 in trading bonuses with access to traditional finance markets as well. So again, a very, very compelling offer, especially while the crypto markets perhaps are making a little bit less sense right now. The stock markets and so on, are staying pretty well behaved, and that potentially means there are some nice opportunities just on the horizon here. This is a very crudely drawn symmetrical triangle that I've been watching with Tesla stock, for example, for quite some time. And all of these things are available to trade on BingX just with your Bitcoin deposits. So that is very, very cool. All right, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. You know what to do if you have, and go ahead and do all of that stuff. And I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.